Now to the Western Cape, who in 2024 has seen several underworld bosses emerging at the High Court. This as the state is targeting organised crime kingpins in the province.
Now, alleged underworld boss Nafiz Modack appears to have had more bodyguards than President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Nafiz Modack, who is accused number 1 in this case, and his 14 co-accused have made their first appearance in the Western Cape High Court for their pre-trial hearing. They were surrounded by heavily armed security. The group faced more than 3,000 charges ranging from and attempted to racketeering and money laundering and engaging in criminal gang activity.
Nafiz Modack thought being different from the average South African crime boss was a smart move until he found himself dealing with situations that other crime bosses in the country had never faced. Instead of focusing solely on winning gang wars and eliminating his rivals, Modack took things to a whole new level. He began targeting law enforcement officers and even had a brief stint of success. This move, unsurprisingly, earned him a new level of respect. However, it is a decision he likely wishes he had never made, as he is set to pay dearly for it for the rest of his life, unless a miracle happens. As far as crime in South Africa is concerned, Nafiz Modack can easily be described as a break from the norm. He is a notoriously influential underworld figure, but unlike other gangsters, he isn't openly involved in the sale of drugs or robberies. Instead, he presents himself more like a regular entrepreneur. In fact, if one didn't know him well or what he stands for, it might be difficult to even consider him a criminal. This is one reason why opinions about him vary widely. Modack may seem like a businessman, but his name is strongly linked to the Cape Town underworld, with the nightclub security industry as his niche. Beside being a major force in the nightclub security sector, he is also neck-deep in organized crime. Not much is known about Modack's childhood, except that he was born and bred in Cape Town. He started gaining popularity in the business and criminal world when he got involved in the nightclub security sector. During this time, he operated in the shadows and worked with some of the biggest names in the Cape Town underworld until 2017, when he felt he had what was needed to rub shoulders with the big boys. Modack could have simply chosen to enter the world of robbery or dealing, but he chose to get involved in the nightclub security sector. Not many people may understand the essence of this move if they don't know what nightclub security really guarantees a gangster. Having control over the security department of nightclubs is good business and offers a lot of power. Aside from its perks as a legitimate source of income, men like Modack saw it as a way to get involved in the trade. How did he achieve this? Since nightclubs are linked to crime and entertainment, being in charge of their security systems easily gives gangsters access to the business without necessarily having to deal with the risks involved in this line of business. This is because lots of dirty deals take place in these nightclubs, and it is up to the security agents to allow substances in or out. Furthermore, nightclub security is linked to extortion. So, being a top dog in this industry simply gives gangsters access to a lot of opportunities they would not get by simply dealing in Modack knew this, and with this knowledge, he forced his services on nightclub owners. On the surface, it may seem difficult to believe that anyone would pay for services they aren't interested in, but that wasn't the case with Modack. He made use of violence and intimidation to ensure that he ran the security unit of numerous nightclubs in Cape Town. Although some of these nightclubs already had security firms handling their security needs, it is believed that Modack took over their positions using threats. Having a stake in the nightclub sector gave Modack a lot of financial leverage. Although Modack came from nothing, it was only a matter of time before he began attracting enemies and allies from the crime world. After some degree of success as a gangster, Modack soon had a reputation for extortion and intimidation. Word spread that he intimidated club owners, even outside Cape Town, and forced them to work with security firms that were under his control, and no one was really willing to go head-to-head with him. Modack could have limited his operations to just nightclubs and the underworld. However, he considered himself very powerful, perhaps even untouchable, and that was the beginning of his problems. He was under investigation by security agencies, and he knew it. Instead of simply letting things play out, he thought it was best to attack anyone who could bring him down. So, he allegedly took out a senior police officer named Charl Kinnear, who was investigating him and other gangsters. Eliminating Kinnear proved to be a huge mistake, as he was a very influential person in the police force. Modack didn't stop there. He also made attempts at assassinating criminal defense attorney William Booth. Just like Kinnear, who was in front of his house, Booth was also outside his home when fired several at him. Fortunately, he managed to escape unharmed. Modack was able to plan the attack on Booth after intercepting his phone calls. As a result, the charge sheet against him stated, on the contravention of the Electronic Communications Act, Modack and Kinnear, from the 6th of March 2020 until the 18th of September 2020, unlawfully intercepted the cell phone of William on 658 occasions. Similarly, a charge of intimidation against him and another criminal read, they are guilty of kidnapping. In that, on the 9th of March 2020, they unlawfully and intentionally deprived Samir Valley of his freedom by keeping him in a boardroom at Crystal Towers and threatening him until he signed an admission of debt for 600,000 rands owed to Shamal Maharaj. They then forced him to make an immediate EFT payment of 90,000 rands into an account. There were several allegations of violent crimes brought against Modack. However, these were not his only offenses. He is also involved in a tax fraud scheme that somewhat implicated his mother, as she handled the finances of his companies. Modack has been arrested multiple times in his lifetime. However, his first high-profile arrest took place in 2018, when he was charged with extortion. He faced numerous additional charges, but managed to escape conviction due to legal delays and a lack of evidence. 3 years later, he was arrested for his alleged involvement in the assassination of Charl Kinnear. Although Modack was successful in staying out of jail in the past, he may be unable to find a way out of the charges relating to Kinnear's. He is currently in court facing 124 charges, including the alleged of Kinnear, attempted Booth, money laundering, tax evasion, and more. Modack's trial is one of the most notable in South Africa in recent years. One could easily say Modack is one of the most dangerous individuals in Cape Town. While the same may not necessarily be said about his family members, they are far from innocent, judging from the numerous allegations made against them. Some of them are also facing charges related to fraudulent licenses. Technically, Modack isn't a gang leader, but is allegedly linked to several gangs in Cape Town. His affiliation with gangs involved in indirectly make him an dealer. Meanwhile, the fact that he wasn't technically a gang leader like the likes of Alfie Solomons and Rashid Staggy didn't slow him down. His influence in the underworld was significant enough to earn him several enemies, which sometimes led to gang. The resulting violence caused numerous on the streets of Cape Town. Modack is yet to be sent to jail, even though several charges have been brought up against him, and it seems his legal team will do everything possible to ensure that he walks free. In December 2024, his legal team filed a motion to have the charge of Kinnear's dropped. The motion was dismissed. So, Modack may finally be held accountable for his many crimes. You might think that the average person wants Modack off the street and in prison, but that's not necessarily the case. Modack is a well-known figure in South Africa. He is a household name, and people have different opinions about him. Some believe he is a victim of selective prosecution, meaning he is being made a scapegoat for sentimental reasons when there are other criminals who are probably worse than him. Those with this view think he's not quite as bad as many might assume. Meanwhile, others see him as a criminal who must be brought to justice. The differing views on Modack may seem surprising, but the fact remains that he isn't like the average gangster. There have numerous discussions about the charges brought against Modack, and one notable comment came from his legal representative, Irfan Parker, who stated, "On Sunday, the 2nd of May, I received instructions that my client will be charged in the hand grenade matter. The hand grenade matter and the murder of Kinnear are linked, and my client will therefore also be charged for the murder of Kinnear." It's also alleged that Modack could have been taken down earlier if some underground protocols weren't in place. A member of the tactical response team attached to the AGU, known as Tabi Sher, agreed for a fee of 10,000 rands to provide information on when raids were scheduled to take place at Modack's residence and who was feeding the AGU information about him. For his actions, he was arrested on suspicion of proliferating information to unsavory characters operating in the underworld. It is alleged that between 2019 and 2020, the suspect was enticed by an unknown underworld figure to infiltrate the anti-gang unit and supply them with information related to the operations of this underworld figure in exchange for financial gratification. While speaking about the police officer who chose to work with Modack, a senior police official stated, "We have always said that being a police officer is an honorable job. Keep your blue. If you don't want to keep your blue, we won't hesitate to convert it to orange." He continued, "The guy who was in one of our elite units chose to be greedy and work with the underworld, so he is not one of us, and we will treat him as such. It was his choice, and he must live with it." The police official didn't stop there. He went on to discuss Modack's case. "We saw the guys in court on Monday. More will be joining them soon. After that, there will be additional charges, and some of them will face those charges as well. That charge of Lieutenant Colonel Kinnear's is coming. It is definitely underway. It remains shocking how Modack got so close to Charl Kinnear, who was supposed to be well protected. While there are ongoing debates about how this happened, it is believed that cell phone pinging played a crucial role in helping the locate Kinnear. Although this remains an assumption, CCTV footage may provide vital evidence to confirm whether pinging was indeed instrumental. This is because it can show how long the was lurking in the area. Modack was initially charged with 124 offenses. However, the number of charges brought against him was later reduced. Speaking about this reduction, NPA spokesperson Eric Ntabazalila stated, "We made concessions on 8 of the charges out of 124 because we felt that we could not take the evidence any further. It was also a matter of fairness to the accused. We didn't want to burden the court, knowing that we could not pursue those charges effectively. So we are happy and ready to proceed with the trial to get the accused to testify and for us to cross-examine them." Modack's case has been long and tedious. It has exposed both the strength of South Africa's organized crime networks and the government's weaknesses in tackling crime head-on. Things would have been a little easier if there were sufficient protection for those investigating gang bosses. However, it appears alarmingly easy for these individuals to be targeted. This discourages even the best investigators from taking an interest in cases involving gang bosses. If this continues, it will become increasingly difficult to bring criminals to justice as there will be insufficient evidence against them. This challenge seems to be unfolding in Modack's case. It remains uncertain whether Modack will be convicted. However, regardless of the trial's outcome, it will have a significant impact on the justice system, South Africa's law enforcement agencies, and the fight against crime. While no one can predict the final verdict, this case highlights how resilient organized crime in South Africa has become. It also serves as a reminder that the government has a long way to go in either eradicating or significantly reducing organized crime. Modack rose to prominence quickly, making him a relatively young criminal figure. Unlike the average gangster, he did not follow the conventional path. Instead, he carved his own way, engaging in activities that benefited him rather than simply going with the flow. In his bid to stand out and not be like every other gangster in Cape Town, Modack has also treated the press differently. In fact, he has dealt with them more openly than most gang bosses. He is known for allowing media coverage of his activities, most notably when he permitted journalists to document his distribution of food packages during COVID-19. As a result, he has gained a number of well-wishers. If wishes were horses, he would walk out of court a free man. But wishes aren't horses, and that doesn't necessarily mean he is headed for prison either. In the absence of sufficient evidence to convict him, he will remain a free man. Cape Town's underworld is entangled in numerous legal battles, and Modack's case is just one of many. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.